that would take place in 2026 if supporters have their way. Both measures aim to make existing rights harder to overturn, in fact, enshrining the right to abortion in their state constitutions. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head, Vic head, here.
And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho-ho-ho.
What?
You forgot the ho-ho-ho.
Oh.
No, ho-ho.
Oh.
Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win great prizes from Havana 1961 Restaurant, Trolley Stop Bakery, and Whistle Pig Outdoors. newstalkstl.com.
Oh.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
And some light snow in the forecast for this afternoon under cloudy skies. Temperatures will make it up to about the mid to upper 30s, so we'll be above the freezing mark. So let's keep an eye on it. It should be very light and not have an impact on the evening commute. However, northeast of St. Louis into our Illinois counties is certainly a chance that we could see some light accumulations. Highs tomorrow, once again, in the mid to upper 30s, but boy, does it turn cold this weekend. Single-digit lows and some more snow possible on Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Bring joy to the world, it's the thing to do. But the world does not revolve around you. Don't be a jerk. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
Happy holidays. Welcome to Colombo and Company on News Talk STL.
Indeed. Welcome to Colombo & Company. I am Tony Colombo in studio with producer Ashlyn, and we have got another busy show for you. Don't be a jerk. It's Christmas. Just keep that in mind now that we are less than 2 weeks away from Christmas. That is absolutely unbelievable. And the new session here, the legislative session here in Missouri is right around the corner. So even though we are less than 2 weeks away from Christmas, there is no shortage of news and drama and issues to talk about on both the national and international level, and of course also here locally. Speaking of the local stuff, we are going to be joined in about 10 minutes from Senator Nick Schroer from, of course, Stand and Fight, good friend of the show. Our friend Justin Sparks, Representative Justin Sparks, who's usually with us on Thursday, who is making that transition now to the Trump administration. Hopefully we'll be back with us on a regular basis sometime soon, but obviously he's got a whole lot going on. So got a big thank you to Senator Schroer for stepping in and helping us out, because it's really important to me and I think you that we cover all of these local issues, especially right now on the, just weeks away from opening day of the legislative session, and so many big issues that are going to be faced by Missouri lawmakers, dealt with this year personal property tax issues, of course, Second Amendment issues. We're going to get into some of the Second Amendment conversation with Senator Schroer in a few moments. And hopefully also we will get maybe we can finally get some clarity. I'm not sure anybody really knows when it comes to the congressional maps, because as I said yesterday in our conversation with Rodney Boyd, I've heard, people saying that with these petitions turned in, that's the end of it. And the new map is not going to go into place and it's going to be voted on. And anybody that thinks the map's going to change anytime soon is just wrong. And then I've heard that, the Missouri Constitution clearly gives the lawmakers the right and ability to change the districts. And that's what the Constitution says. So that's what's going to happen. Just totally contradicting reports and opinions on this. So can't wait to talk to Senator Schroer and get his thoughts on how that is going to play out. There was a great interview with Denny Hoskins on Mike Ferguson in the morning this morning, talking about this exact issue as well. And I definitely don't think it is as simple as, these petitions were turned in and now it's going to be on the ballot. I think there's a whole lot more steps that have to be taken before we get to that point. So we'll dig into that issue deeper with Senator Schroer in a few moments. We're also going to be joined this afternoon by Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire and Dr. Randy Tobler from the Randy Tobler Show. As I mentioned, we've got a lot of things to talk about on the national stage, including the Senate Republicans today blocking the Senate Democrats' extension of expiring Obamacare subsidies. Remember the government shutdown and how the Obamacare subsidies was at the heart of all of that and was the big sticking point, and what the Democrats were basically shutting the government down for over a month. And then there was that whole, the Democrats claiming that Republicans did not agree to hold a vote or did not agree to bring this issue up immediately following the government shutdown, even though they clearly did. And they clearly did, because that vote went down and the Democrats have lost that bid. And it could set us up at the end of January to be going through this whole process again of possibly another government shutdown, because, of course, that agreement to reopen the government was only a very short extension of kicking the can down the road, as we always do, to the end of January. So with this healthcare and this Obamacare subsidies issue still dangling out there, it could give the Democrats the exact same excuse to do this all again. I want to dig deeper into that vote and what the Democrats are trying to accomplish and what the Republicans are shooting down and voting against today. Before we get to all of that, let's start with the latest impeachment effort against Donald Trump. It came and went pretty quickly. But just another, when we talk about the swamp, here's a perfect example. Longtime progressive effort to impeach President Donald Trump failed today, with nearly 24 Democrats joining House Republicans to strike it down. Representative Al Green, Democrat out of Texas. I'm sure you know who he is, and if you don't know off the top of your head, you saw a picture, you definitely recognize him. He is very often at the forefront of the progressive lunacy coming out of the Democratic Party. Al Green moved to get a vote on 2 articles of impeachment last night via a privileged resolution, a mechanism allowing lawmakers to force action on a bill within 2 legislative days. Republicans called for a vote to table the measure today, a move that effectively kills consideration of the bill itself when a privileged resolution is called for. Green has filed articles of impeachment against Donald Trump several times over the past year. He's not the only one, and notably was thrown out of the president's joint address to Congress in March for repeatedly interrupting his speech. The latest impeachment push includes 2 articles charging abuse of power, according to legislative texts viewed by Fox News Digital and other media outlets. Some of this I'm getting directly from Fox News Digital, so I'm going to give that credit. The first count accuses Trump of calling for the execution of 6 congressional Democrats. It was in response to Trump accusing those Democrats of seditious behavior, which he said was punishable by death after they posted a video urging military service members to refuse illegal orders. Of course, know that whole thing. So Al Green takes that issue and files an article of impeachment because he said the president called for the execution of Congress members. Green's second allegation of abuse of power charges Trump with having, quote, fostered a political climate in which lawmakers and judges face threats of political violence and physical assault. Talk about the flip test on this one. And in this goes on, and in this climate has made threats and comments against federal judges, putting at risk their safety and well-being and undermining the independence of our judiciary. Again, wow. To say that, listen, does Donald Trump say some things that I would rather him not say? Certainly. Have Democrats been way more guilty of threats of violence, or at least making comments to cover for threats of violence without coming out, directly and saying it? Nancy Pelosi and her righteous anger quotes, and Maxine Waters and her get out there and make a scene and throw these people out of restaurants and shopping centers and things like that. Give me a break. 23 Democrats joined Republicans in pushing the impeachment aside. A significant number of Democrats also voted present, including all 3 senior leaders, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries and the rest of Democrat House leadership put out a statement after the vote saying, quote, impeachment is a sacred constitutional vehicle designed to hold a corrupt executive accountable for abuse of power, breaking the law, and violating the public trust. The effort traditionally requires a comprehensive investigative process, the collective and review of thousands of documents, and exacting scrutiny of the facts, the examination of dozens of key witnesses, congressional hearings, sustained public organizing, and the marshaling of the forces of democracy to build a broad national consensus. None of that serious work has been done, with the Republican majority focused solely on rubber stamping Donald Trump's extreme agenda. Accordingly, we will be voting present on today's motion to table the impeachment resolution as we continue our fight to make life more affordable for everyday Americans. So that was the way that Hakeem Jeffries and the rest of Democratic House leadership was able to still take their shots at the president, but not sign on to a clearly strictly performative, grandstanding impeachment attempt by Congressman Al Green. Ultimately, the vote was 237 to 140, with 47 present votes, most of them coming from Democrats. So 23 Democrats actually voting with Republicans, and many other Democrats then voting present. And you know what, though? There was still 140. There was still 140 United States congressmen and women today that voted to impeach the president on Al Green's ridiculous charges. I mean, that's still, even though that type of vote in Congress today is a landslide and a clear victory for whatever side would score that, but I still think it's worth pointing out that 140 congressmen and women, Democrats, still thought that there was validity to these impeachment charges today. Pretty crazy. All right, we're going to get back into some of this national stuff as we continue the show, especially when we get Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire on the line here in about 20 minutes. But let's switch the focus to some local issues, congressional maps, Second Amendment issues, personal property tax, all of these things that we'll be talking about in the coming weeks. And then, of course, at the beginning of the legislative session, which starts in early January, Senator Nick Schroer joins us next here on Colombo and Company.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
You and I are just like a couple of tots running across a meadow, picking up lots of forget-me-nots.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
Looking for the best selection of firearms in the St. Louis region? Drive to Osage County Guns. Conveniently located off I-70, just 25 minutes from St. Charles. We've got thousands of guns in stock, the largest selection of handguns, rifles, and shotguns around. Trade in or sell your old guns for cash and shop our wide variety of premium Winchester ammunition made right here in the USA. Visit us online at ocgmo.com, or better yet, make the drive to Osage County Guns and see why we're the St. Louis region's favorite.
Elevate your brand's visibility with Fast Signs of Bridgeton, your local experts in visual solutions. From custom signs and banners to eye-catching graphics and displays, we bring your vision to life. Need indoor decor, outdoor signage, or vehicle wraps? Our team delivers quality and creativity on time, every time. Don't just make a statement, make an impression. Visit Fast Signs of Bridgeton, proud partner of the St. Louis Blues and preferred sign company of St. Louis University Athletics. Visit fastsigns.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Louis Gohmert, he's a former congressman.
Bob Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
Pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series. And so I snuck my transistor radio in my shirt and had the little earpiece into my ear and tried to keep my head turned where the teacher wouldn't see, but was listening to the World Series in class.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4
on News Talk STL.
Hey there, Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management. Join us this Sunday right here on News Talk STL for Serenity Wealth Now Radio. This week, we're featuring special guest Jonathan Heslop of the Rockwood Charcoal Company. He's no stranger to News Talk STL, and we're going to find out why it's okay to be on the naughty list and get some charcoal in your stocking. Tune in right here, News Talk STL, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. or on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper, Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Ashlyn, and joining us on the line now is Missouri State Senator Nick Schroer, the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on News Talk STL. And, one of the good ones that are out there fighting hard every day for you and your families. Nick, how are you?
Hey, yo, another one for the good guys.
Hey,
Tony.
yo, another one for the good guys. Great to talk with you, my friend. I mentioned earlier that, for the last couple years now, this Thursday afternoon spot has been held by my friend and yours, State Rep Justin Sparks. And it's I thank you for being here as Justin's making that transition now to the Trump administration. I definitely want to keep this this afternoon, this spot on Thursdays, a local focus. So thanks for helping us out here in the interim. And
like a Freedom Caucus spot.
Yeah, there you go. That's okay with me. That's a-okay with me. So there's so much to talk about. I mean, even without the redistricting controversy or some of the things, that we're lingering around or still maybe, dangling from last year or through the summer, this would be a busy time of year anyway, because we're just a couple weeks away from the start of the legislative session. But with this redistricting issue still floating around out there, that just adds on to the pile. I mentioned earlier, there was a great interview this morning with Denny Hoskins on Mike Ferguson in the Morning. And I talked yesterday with Rodney Boyd about this issue, and I still feel like I'm not sure anybody really knows what's going to happen or how it's supposed to happen, because I've heard that, look, the maps are the Constitution, the state Constitution says the maps are, that's something to be handled by Missouri lawmakers. And that's what the Constitution says. That's what we did. That's what is happening, not end of story, but they're going to go into place, because of that. And then I've also heard like, oh, nope, everything stops right now. The map's never going into place and you're going to vote on it and we'll see what happens down the line in a couple of years. Like it's just like, I've heard such conflicting reports and I'm really not sure. It sounds like we're kind of almost in uncharted territory here, and unenchanted territory, maybe.
I like that.
Yeah. On how this is going to play out. Can you provide some clarity on, your understanding of how the next steps of this redistricting issue are going to play out?
Well, mark my words, mass chaos. That's exactly what it's going to be from here until Election Day 2026.
Yeah.
And for several reasons. One, it is uncharted territory because no Democrat, or in this case, a third party that's funded by out-of-state billionaires, bringing in people from out of state to lie and intimidate to our voters and do so without providing strict compliance with the law and trying to get their signatures. No one's done this to offset a redistricting map. And I think the Constitution is pretty clear that the mechanism for drawing these districts, it sticks with the legislature. There is another set talking about, referendums, and it never mentions redistricting whatsoever or using referendums to offset or challenge maps. And I think the courts have been pretty clear when the Constitution is wholly silent on something, then it usually doesn't apply, but usually is the key word. And I think when you look at all the extracurriculars, I think the Attorney General is right here that it is unconstitutional to put this thing on the map and allow these third parties to use the referendum process for this purpose. Now, that's not going to be decided until probably June, July. And the reason I say that is the case already went to the federal court. The federal court said, well, we're not going to deal with that until it becomes a ripe issue. And through the collection process, as I'm sure Denny Hoskins talked about today, you can go back and listen to the whole interview, which I'm going to do because I had to step out of the truck when he came on. But it's basically, he has the signatures now. The map has gone into place. Sometimes with these referendum processes, the majority of times, the Secretary of State will say, yeah, we're just going to hold off on implementing whatever it is, typically a statute or some sort of policy, not a map. Well, Denny's saying, well, the map's going to go into play. There's nothing preventing us from allowing that to go into play. He's got to go through the process of certifying, verifying, getting all these signatures to make sure they weren't fraudulent, give them to the clerks. They're going to do their due diligence across the state of Missouri to verify that these people actually exist, see if there are challenges, because I know a lot of people have said, I signed up for it, didn't know what I was signing. I just wanted to get these people away from me at the Schnucks parking lot. And then they find out what they did sign. So they've contacted the Secretary of State to get their signatures off. So it's going to be mass chaos. The certifications of this, I don't think take place until, I think the deadline is June of next year. So you're right up against that August primary date. So it's going to be insanity. But for people like us who have radio shows, podcasts, interest in politics, it's like Christmas comes every single month.
Great for business. You got that right. It gives us plenty to talk about. This whole process was done, with the referendum process, as you were just mentioning, which ties us back to IP reform and all of that. Did what was passed regarding IP reform, did that issue not apply here, or was this started before that went into place? Did the IP reform issue have anything to do with this issue and how they are able to try to get this on the ballot, I guess is a better way to ask.
Well, let me say yes and no. So the IP reform that is going to appear on the ballot next year, That hasn't necessarily gone into effect because it needs to be approved by voters. However, we did pass, thanks to Senator Ben Brown, who spearheaded an effort at banning foreign funding of ballot measures and referendums. We did pass that this year. So that's another issue that the Attorney General has been looking into because there have been a lot of allegations. And this company that came in, AMT, has been used in many other states to try and attack what Republicans are doing. And that's, sometimes I sit back and I wish we had some sort of like mega billionaire group of billionaires that just wanted to piss their money away in other states that we could just call when George Soros or this guy in Switzerland is doing his thing. But no, that's another thing that could offset a lot of what is happening. If the federal courts say, no, this is lawful, which I truly believe they're going to say no, that the Constitution of the state of Missouri is fairly strict when it comes to what the referendum can be used on. Another mechanism to invalidate a lot of these signatures is fraud, inconsistencies, or noncompliance with the law itself, like not providing all of the documentation of what is going into effect if this thing passes, or if they did breach the law when it came to foreign funding and accepting foreign funds. There were a lot of different PACs and third-party organizations, again, not within the state of Missouri, that were at play here. So there's so many different things because of that law that we passed this year that did go into effect that could impact this. But again, on the ballot, if this thing goes on there, whether or not it's on there, whatever, you're going to have Amendment 3, the fix to the abortion on demand and trans surgeries on demand without parental consent. That fix is going to be on the ballot. You're going to have the initiative petition reform that is going to be on the ballot. And maybe, depending upon if we get our act together as a Republican Party, which I think we will, you might have something related to getting rid of or phasing out of Missouri's income tax. Now, this past year, we did the capital gains tax, first state in the nation that went that route. We could be a major target for people and businesses if we can get rid of the income tax as well.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those issues. Talking to Missouri Senator Nick Schroer. The next session is just weeks away. We're less than 2 weeks away from Christmas. I don't know where 2025 went. It just absolutely flew by. And so here we go again. Going into this session, I for the first time, I have even maybe a little speck of optimism. It's not much, but maybe a little speck, because we actually did see some real productive steps taken last year and then through some of the special sessions this summer. So maybe there is some momentum that is building here that I hope that you guys are able to continue to capitalize on. And you mentioned the income tax there. That's exactly one of the issues I was going to talk to you about. Income tax, personal property tax, these types of issues have been at the discussed over and over, year after year, and in our legislative session. What makes you think that this year could be the year that we actually get something done?
Well, a couple things. We've got new leadership, a new governor who whether he was your first, second, or third choice in that primary, he was very clear on three things that were consistent with my goals as well. Dealing with public safety is a top priority issue. And we at least got some of that done with my crime bill this year. And I know Justin Sparks was a huge piece of that puzzle as well when we got that bill over in the House. Number two, education reform. Again, we passed a little bit, but we still got so much more to do. But number three on that list was income tax cuts. So he's been true to everything that he said he was going to do, whether you agreed with it or not. I didn't agree with the whole stadium debacle, but I did appreciate him working with the Freedom Caucus on things like public safety, passing the 7-1 map, getting initiative petition reform done, things that prior Republican or Democrat governors couldn't get done, and things that prior supermajority Republican parties couldn't get done. And the second part to this thing is the Freedom Caucus. So it's one big thing to have a new leader where a lot of the moderates who, and I hate to say this, and I'm not going to say this in a demeaning manner, but in politics, you see it in Washington, D.C., you see it in Jefferson City. There are a lot of followers. There are a lot of people who need a chief in the room, who need a head boss to say, hey, this is what we're going to do as a party, and this is how I want to get it done. And you got a lot of politicians on both sides of the aisle that will just jump and say, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Case in point, look back at the map. In 2022, when I offered that map in the Missouri House, we didn't have many Republicans that were for it because the leadership and the governor at the time were absolutely against it. This year, a lot of those same people are still in office. Not much changed other than I went over to the Senate. We got a new governor and we had Donald Trump, all of which were saying we have to get this done. And a lot of people jumped on board. So it wasn't a policy shift. It was just a change in the people at the top. So the Freedom Caucus is on the bottom. We're on the grassroots ground, lighting fires, bringing people to the Capitol for hearings, putting public pressure on by way of social media and podcasts. And if you listen to this network, if you listened yesterday to Vic Porcelli, you may have got a little hint of what Tim Jones and I are working on. Something in line with a national movement or a national spotlight. So that's going to be unveiled closer to the end of the year, moving into 2026. But these are the reasons why I think, like you, I have a little bit of hope, not a ton, but a little bit of hope, because we were able to collectively come together, fight back when the Democrats said, we're not going to negotiate. You're going to let us kill all your good bills. And we said, nope, we're going to pull the trigger on that. And that was moving the previous question. So I know a lot of the Democrats who have been on podcasts, have been on radio, have done interviews saying that they are going to kick and scream and bring everything to a screeching halt for the first month, at least the first month of session. And my question is, why aren't there more media outlets? Why aren't there more mainstream media outlets covering this? Saying, well, wait a second, isn't that called obstructionism, or does that only apply to Republicans?
Yeah, well, that's because the mainstream media are on the side of the Democrats or, funded by George Soros. So there's your answer to those. And you know what? You answered my next question already, because along with those reasons that you gave, a new governor and the Missouri Freedom Caucus, these reasons for this momentum, it also sounds like it's pressure from voters. It's conservative voters that have put a supermajority of Republicans in power for many years in a row now, and Missouri voters want to see you guys deliver on the reasons why you were given that power. And I would imagine that hearing that in that grassroots effort, especially by you guys in the Freedom Caucus, are powered by what your constituents are wanting you to do.
Well, Tim Jones and I talk about this all the time, Tony, how a lot of people who have been on the sidelines, who have been working, have been, parenting their kids, are sick and dang tired of the myself included. This is one of the reasons I got involved back in 2016 and initially ran for the House, is I was ticked off. And a lot of the people who are seeing people like me standing up, offering a 7-1 map, this is a huge issue that I heard at the doors when I ran for Senate. Why don't we have a strong Republican Party? Why do we have a party that campaigns, makes all these promises, and then once they get to Jefferson City or Washington, D.C., they forget us. They forget we the people. And a lot of those people who were ticked off are running for office now. And one of the guys, Jim Avery, who I know has been on several of the shows here on News Talk, we've seen him. He was a former state rep 20 years ago, goes into the military, comes out, becomes an attorney, very successful career. But he's even sitting there scratching his head like, well, wait a second, why can't we get school choice done? Why do we still have to pay taxes on all of this property, real property, personal property that we own? And we've got the numbers to get it done. You've got states like Tennessee, Texas, Florida with less Republican representation than we do. And now they're putting their names on the ballot. And mark my words, the Missouri Freedom Caucus is going to grow. There are a lot of people, and I love it. There are a lot of people kind of mimicking and imitating our style of just, being unfiltered and just not changing who we are, despite if we're committee chairman or whatever it may be. And that's what I think people want. People want authenticity and they want action. And the Republican Party is finally getting their act together. That's why, like you, a little tiny bit of hope for 2026.
It's a strange feeling, optimism. It's not something I'm used to. And there's just a little bit hidden in there. We got just about a minute left here, Nick. We're almost out of time talking to Senator Nick Schroer. I've been talking this week about this red flag law bill that has been proposed by Democrat Steve Butts in the House. We don't have time to get into details. I'll continue that conversation. I really dug into it yesterday. You can check out a podcast there. But just in general, do you think that red flag laws, the Second Amendment issue, is that going to, again, play a large role? And is that issue going to be a large part of the coming session?
Oh, it's going to be, and the reason being is the red flag law is unconstitutional. It lacks due process requirements, and I've got the exact opposite. Senate Bill 1055, which includes the anti-red flag law. No matter what the feds do or state does, we're not going to enforce that because it is unconstitutional. But it also includes some provisions on self-defense, on including guns and ammunition to tax-free holidays. Whenever you go get a new computer or books or school supplies for tax-free weekend, we're going to add guns and stuff into that as well. In Senate Bill 1055, I can talk so much more about that, but you're going to have to tune in to Stand and Fight to get that preview of the 2026 session.
I can't wait to hear about that, and that is exactly the kind of law that I think that we need in Missouri and across the country to protect Second Amendment rights. So I am looking forward to continuing that conversation and tuning in this Sunday and every Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. Stand and Fight with Missouri Senator Nick Schroer. Senator, thank you as always for your time, my friend. We will talk to you again very soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Hey, stay beautiful, and y'all have a blessed week.
Back at you, buddy. Great stuff there. Senator Nick Schroer, Sunday night, 6 p.m. Stand and Fight right here on News Talk STL. All right, we are going to get back into some of the national issues, including Jasmine Crockett's Senate run down in Texas. We also had Democrats mad at another Democrat. Some of the Biden team are falling apart and continue to take shots at each other. We'll tell you about those stories and more when we are joined by Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. Next.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Tonight, the story behind the story, the night of deadly tornadoes, one followed by another and another and another.
Larry Connors USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8
on News Talk STL.
Located in the heart of St. Charles, Kevin's Guns is your family-owned destination for all things firearms. Whether you're a collector, hunter, or military enthusiast, we have it or can get it for you. From new to used rifles and handguns in every style and caliber, our friendly and knowledgeable staff is here to help educate you and ensure you make the perfect choice for your needs. Buy, sell, or browse our incredible selection at kevinsguns.net or call 636-493-1195. Kevin's Guns, where gun enthusiasts come home.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You know, there's a certain way we do things around here, the Grasser way.
The Grasser way?
We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. Not on the little stuff. Not on the big stuff.
We do the big stuff.
That's right. Whole home generators that kick on the moment the grid gives up. Lights stay on, heat stays on, your family stays safe, so your house stays warm.
And your ice cream stays frozen.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Hi, it's Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the largest RE/MAX franchise in the region. The summer housing market is hot, and the fall market looks to be as hot. If buying or selling a home is in your future, it is time to act now. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me, Mark Harder, for fast results. RE/MAX Results, 314-852-8933, 314-852-8933, and start packing.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio, and joining me on the line now is our friend Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. Virginia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for being here as usual. So many things to talk about. I I see you have a recent article up at the Daily Wire about I wasn't going to talk about this, but then I saw you had an article up about it, so I was like, okay, now I want to talk about it. Jasmine Crockett running for Senate in Texas. Her quotes from a couple weeks ago when she was first not announcing but teasing the idea of her running for Senate and saying, you know, like, oh, if you're going to take away my, 100,000 seat Congress position, then what if I just take over, 8 million or whatever, whatever population of Texas seat?
Right.
Yeah. What are you going to, what Jasmine Crockett being the first Democrat elected to a statewide office in Texas in 30 plus years. I don't think anybody but her, right, thinks that that's even in the realm of possibility.
Well, no, the sane people are out there saying, honey, that dog ain't gonna hunt. But no one has ever accused her of being one of the sane people. So I guess I don't know. No, I
is this her way of staying relevant because her seat's going away? And if she's interesting now, she commands attention now because she's a congresswoman. If she's not a congresswoman, she loses that. So this is her way to stay relevant for a year.
The calculus is this: if she runs a Senate campaign and she does even a tiny bit better than Beto O'Rourke did, and she will, because Beto O'Rourke was running against somebody who was popular and she's running against somebody who's not. Almost regardless, she's running against somebody who's not. John Cornyn does not have the draw that Ted Cruz does.
Right.
And if John Cornyn loses in the primary to somebody like Paxton, who has his own personal issues dogging him in this,
she'll look good.
Regardless, she's going to be running against someone slightly less popular.
Yeah.
However, to quote Nancy Pelosi in reverse, a glass of water with an R next to it is going to do better than any Democrat in Texas.
Especially
one that is more likely to, let's just say, if you're going to run a Democrat in Texas, it needs to be like a Joe Manchin Democrat.
Yeah.
It cannot be a Jasmine Crockett Democrat.
No, and that's why I wonder what the play is here, and I think you just did a great job of explaining it. And then
I know what that is too.
Yeah, go ahead.
She knows she won't win.
Right.
If she does even a little bit better than Beto O'Rourke did, she's going to, without any other evidence, say, "See, Texas is turning purple." She's trying to get more money funneled into Texas for the next cycle. That's part one of her plan. Part two is, well, which cable network's hiring?
You just read my mind. I was just going to ask you, is this the play? Is it from Congress to a failed Senate run, but very high profile Senate run to a new show on MSNBC or whatever they call it now?
100%.
Yep.
She will be, she wants to follow Simone Sanders and everybody else into cable news.
Yep. Write it down. Tony in Virginia said it today.
Podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Or she's going to launch her own video podcast.
So, okay, moving to another one of your latest articles at the Daily Wire, talking to Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. Democrats are mad at Merrick Garland. Adam Schiff complains that Merrick Garland wasn't partisan enough. This has got to be good. Adam Schiff versus Merrick Garland. I don't know. There's nobody to root for in this fight, but I can't wait to hear about it. Tell us what's going on there.
Well, so the assessment from Adam Schiff is that
these are always good.
The assessment from Adam Schiff is that Merrick Garland was not partisan enough with regard to the prosecutions of Trump. So he's like, okay, so the first Trump administration totally weaponized the DOJ, right? And that's his working theory starts there. Well, then obviously Trump should have been prosecuted after he left office. But because Merrick Garland was so worried about whether or not his office would look partisan if he got involved, he slow-walked all the prosecutions against Trump. Slow-walked them so much that he was charged in 3 different jurisdictions in the space of like 2 years. Like, what?
Unprecedented, like, charges.
Right.
Like, it just, yeah, more than we've ever seen before.
Like reimagined and reinvented and whatever. We're going to take these state charges and see if we can add a little crayon in the margins and make them federal charges and make them stick. Like, yeah. So he says that Merrick Garland was too slow, and he's kind of mad about that. But obviously he had the right goal in mind because, you know, Merrick Garland with the heart of gold didn't want to appear partisan.
Yeah, and
Merrick
by the way,
Garland, whose DOJ prosecuted Catholics and followed parents to school board meetings.
and can you imagine if Donald Trump went on, or any Republican went public with saying that their attorney general, the attorney general of the United States, needs to be a ultra partisan player? Like, we all know, like, look, that is what is happening, obviously, but to just come out and just say it, like, hey, when we win an election, we want, you know, it's your job to go after all of our political enemies and be as partisan as possible. I mean, Adam Schiff sounds like an idiot that he's even willing to say, say that out loud.
In fairness, he's not saying that.
Well,
What he's saying is that because Merrick Garland was so afraid of appearing partisan, he wouldn't do what needed to be done.
Yeah, well.
So he wasn't willing to appear partisan at all, and therefore he erred on the side of not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So that's kind of what he's pushing.
It does. But
anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
And of course, Adam Schiff, you know, is apparently still sitting on the evidence that that Trump colluded with Russia. And I don't know why anyone takes this person seriously. I don't know
how he is still in power. The fact that Adam Schiff has
that's easy. That's easy though.
He's in the right
because
state.
He's in California, and he took the seat that was being occupied by Dianne Feinstein until she died. Yeah. But she wasn't doing anything before she died. Like,
yeah, but
I don't think that
just the absolute falling star that he has caught to be able to sustain this career as long as he has.
Well, I mean, maybe Jasmine Crockett should be so lucky. We can't all fail up.
No kidding. No kidding. I touched on this earlier. The vote on the Obamacare subsidies went down today. This is the vote that many Democrats were saying wasn't going to happen because Republicans weren't going to do it, and they hadn't promised to do a vote right after the government was reopened, and that was all lies, obviously, because the vote did go down today. But it failed, and
of course.
So I wanted to ask you,
the next complaint is going to be, they only allowed the vote to happen because they knew it wouldn't pass.
Right. Well, and I mean, but and didn't we? Didn't they know that, and we knew that? I mean, everybody knew that would be the results of the vote.
Yeah. Well, right, but it doesn't matter. What matters is how they can sell it. And
right.
You know, this is how they can sell it. So this is going to be a complicated issue that follows us for a while, the Obamacare subsidies. And it is important at every turn to remind everyone that these are not the subsidies that were built into Obamacare to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Because Obamacare was built on subsidies. The entire point was to build in the subsidies. Honestly, more than providing health insurance or health care or anything else, the goal was the subsidies, because the entire thing is about redistributing wealth. So if you look at it from that perspective, any subsidy they add, they are not going to want to get rid of. And it's just the same thing. Like if I came into the radio station every day and I gave you $10, the first day I come in and don't give you $10, you're going to be like, where's my $10? And I'm going to be like, it's my $10. You didn't earn it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening here is that the price that people will pay for premiums if those subsidies go away is the price they should be paying for the premiums.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and that
the only
and
reason
it's
they're not paying
Go ahead.
it is
Yep.
that the government is artificially inserting these subsidies. And the subsidies that we are fighting about right now are the ones that were implemented in 2022. They were supposed to be temporary. They expired in 3 years intentionally, and the Democrats signed off on that as recently as February of this year. They signed off on the fact that they were going to expire now.
Yep.
Now, a cynic, or in this case, maybe a realist, would say that the Democrats signed off on that in February because they knew that there would be elections that they could mess with when it came up again. And because they know that Republicans are taking away your health care is something that they can use to get Democrats to the polls.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we only got a couple minutes left here, and that's exactly what I wanted to.
That's why they're pushing for 1 year and 3 year extensions and will not talk about 2.
Do you think this gives them the same excuse and motivation and case to do this all again in January? And when at the end of January, when we get to another government shutdown, another, the end of this most recent agreement, do you think this just all starts up again here with the same argument after this vote?
I don't know. I think that the last shutdown, because the Republicans did such a good job of holding the line, and I credit Mike Johnson and John Thune and a lot of the people who are vocal about it for doing this. Realistically, most of the time, because media is in the pocket, government shutdowns get blamed on Republicans regardless of who's at fault.
Yeah.
This time, it was almost evenly split. When they did the polling, it was like people were blaming Democrats, people were blaming Republicans, and people were blaming the president, because obviously Trump wanted certain things and he was trying to hold out for them, and et cetera, et cetera. But you actually had people like Jake Tapper telling Democrats on his show in real time, what's going on here, because you guys keep voting to keep the government closed. Dana Bash talking to Hakeem Jeffries, why do you keep voting to keep the government closed? Is this working?
Yeah.
And when the media, legacy media outlets like that are asking questions like that of Democrats, you know that it's not going well for them. So I don't see them wanting to repeat that kind of history 9 months from a midterm.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Because 2026 is already going to be packed full of enough drama, and we appreciate your help in unpacking it and understanding all of the drama in the news. Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. Thanks as always for your time, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. All right, we are going to continue the conversation with Dr. Randy Tobler. Randy Tobler Show every Saturday morning, 6 a.m. here on News Talk STL. Doc joins us next.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka. CChiropractic.com. That's CChiropractic.com.
Why are you going to work? It's Sunday.
It's a brand new show on News Talk STL. JC's Sunday Showgram.
It was 35 years ago this week. People all over the Midwest were anticipating a giant earthquake. The story of Dr. Ivan Browning. Plus, Roger Daltrey tells us about the tragedy of the 1979 Who concert in Cincinnati. And we crack open the Christmas library. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
Sunday morning, 7 to 9. Then podcast each Monday on newstalkstl.com.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Guys, don't propose. with a ring that she didn't pick out. Trust us, she already has a ring in mind. So engage with Gage Diamonds, in person or online, where Gage's skilled ring designers will work with her to create the perfect setting, matched with the perfect stone. Gage specializes in exquisite lab-grown diamonds. Financing available. GageDiamonds.com. We're engagement's middle name.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The Senate voted not to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits for millions of Americans today, rejecting a GOP version of a solution to Obamacare and a Democrat version. In remarks before the votes, it was Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso.
Obamacare robbed the American people of choice as well as affordability. So the Democrats are back here today saying they want to send an additional $83 billion directly from the Treasury of the United States to the pockets of the health insurance companies of America.
And Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was making that request, urging the Senate to vote yes to the Democrat version of the plan to simply extend the existing Obamacare subsidy.
A yes vote means lower costs for the American people and greater help for them to pay for the things they need. A yes vote means dignity, security, and peace of mind for tens of millions of American families. It means our healthcare system averts a disaster.
The Obamacare subsidy is set to expire on December 31st. Failing any kind of solution, that could lead to another government shutdown. Time magazine has named Architects of AI as a group recipient of its annual Person of the Year recognition. We get more details on that from correspondent George Williams.
The magazine had already predicted this year would demonstrate artificial intelligence's potential with no turning back. Military affairs analyst, retired Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, has been tracking the advanced technology.
AI is being used by children, it's being used by adults, it's being used by adversaries.
Colonel McGinnis' own reflections are in his book, AI for Mankind's Future, a Christian perspective on the high-tech revolution. Among the 8 individuals Time recognizes are Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, Tesla's Elon Musk, NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, and OpenAI's Sam Altman. George Williams reporting.
More of these stories at townhall.com.
Cold comes swiftly to Ukraine, and for elderly Jews like Olga, it can be deadly. She's 79 years old. She lives in a small village where there is no indoor plumbing, no bathroom, or reliable access to heating. And each day, she has to pump water from a well, even in sub-zero temperatures. To use the restroom, she has to walk through the bitter cold to reach an outhouse. Her meager pension is not enough to cover food, medicine, and heat. Poverty threatens to consume her life. But when all seems lost, Olga received a nourishing food box, emergency lighting, and a warm blanket. You know, this aid is a life-saving gift for someone like Olga. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews and that staff, they lifted her spirits and they reminded her she's not forgotten. Today, thousands of elderly Jews across Ukraine and the former Soviet Union face similar struggles. Their homes are fragile against the cold, their resources are scarce, and their health is fragile too. For them, winter is not just a season, but a fight for survival. Learn more at urgentifcj.org. That's one word, urgentifcj.org.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
And some light snow in the forecast for this afternoon under cloudy skies. Temperatures will make it up to about the mid to upper 30s, so we'll be above the freezing mark. So let's keep an eye on it. It should be very light and not have an impact on the evening commute. However, northeast of St. Louis into our Illinois counties, there's certainly a chance that we could see some light accumulations. Highs tomorrow, once again, in the mid to upper 30s, but boy, does it turn cold this weekend. Single-digit lows and some more snow possible on Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary with Tyrus next.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us. And it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Here's Tyrus. You don't like ICE? Thank yourself, media, because you didn't report anything. New York Times, it's laughable that you're saying the border is a problem now. No kidding. Ask every American that lost a loved one or has had to deal with something, what's going on. You could have been a part of the solution. You could be right now writing letters and accepting Pulitzer Prizes for amazing journalists on what's going on at the border and helping families be safe. But you chose not to do that. You chose to be the opposition. Now you don't get to walk in the room and be like, hey, guys, what's up? Heard about that border, huh? No, get out. You're not part of the process. No one should believe anything that comes out of the New York Times, the writers, the editors that put that stuff out, because they are full of bull.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. A lot covered, a lot of ground covered in that 2 o'clock hour with Missouri State Senator Nick Schroer and Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. If you missed any of it, go back and check it out on our podcast. We put the show out as a podcast right before we get off the air every day on every podcast platform. So wherever you get podcasts on that podcast, subscribe on that platform, subscribe to Colombo and Company, and you'll never miss any of this amazing content and my ability to speak clearly. Dr. Randy Tobler from the Randy Tobler Show, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. here on News Talk STL, joins us on the line now to bring some credibility to this program. Doc, how are you? Thank you for being here.
Wait a minute. About that credibility to this program issue, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that.
So much to talk about here. I'm going to lean on your. I can't think of a more perfect person to talk to about this issue, the vote on the Obamacare subsidies. Of course, Dr. Tobler, not only the show here on Saturday mornings, but every morning throughout the state of Missouri with Wake Up Missouri, and a practicing physician. So when you hear, you understand what's going on, I think, much more than the average person, including me, including people who are even, active in staying up on the issues. The Democrats have used healthcare as their leverage, as their not number one, but one of their top tools to try to battle Republicans with. And this vote that went down today, of course, this all stems from the government shutdown vote. This is what they were trying to get into the deal to open up the government. Ultimately, Democrats, failed in getting that done, but there was a promise to have a vote on these subsidies afterwards. And that vote finally went down today and did not go Democrats' way. I'm sure this is not the end of this issue. How do you feel about this war and this message coming from the Democrats that, Republicans are trying to make Americans pay more for healthcare or take away Americans' healthcare, and this is the only way to save it with these extending these Obamacare subsidies? What's the truth, or how do you analyze this situation?
Well, let me just analyze this. Let me analyze this in the words of Ronald Reagan. The 9 most terrible words you can hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yes. Amen.
Right?
Yes.
And so I think that you have both parties trying to transmit and expand and really consolidate their narrative, which is ultimately a political one, not a real solution to the problem. They use the solution, their proposed solution, as a cudgel to advance their narrative. And by that, I mean, they want to maintain power because we don't have term limits. That's a whole other discussion. And what do they need to do? They need to convince you that they're here to help you. And so the Republicans want to give you money from other people's pocketbooks, which I think is a tremendous mistake. The Democrats want to give you monies from other people's pocketbooks, which I think is a tremendous mistake. They just want to do it in different ways, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans want to take the money that would have gone directly to the insurance companies. They want to have you as the middleman if you're one of the 20 million or so who are going to get some subsidies. I don't think all of those 20 million. Some would get, there's a graduated degree of how much subsidy you get. It's means tested. And then you're going to decide which insurance company to give it to.
Right.
So you're still giving it to insurance companies. Now, in fairness, I think the Republican plan is a better plan because they want to give you, I guess, some kind of an HSA, all of which wouldn't have to go to an insurance company, some of which could go to direct cash payments, I think. It's not very well defined to me. I think some could be direct cash payments to doctors and to opticians and dentists and so forth. So it's miles better than anything that we have presently, which is what the Democrats want to extend, right? They want a 3-year extension, on what it already isn't working. It's like, hey, I'm digging a deep grave and we're the Democrats and we're going to give you a bigger shovel. No, let's give you a backhoe so you can dig even a deeper grave. That sounds good. So, I mean, look, I think that in fairness, the GOP plan is better, but Rand Paul's plan wasn't even considered. His plan is so much closer to what we need. And that is,
and he's a doctor too. What a surprise. Not only is he fiscal, and is very disciplined, which you can say for almost no politician. He also has this deeper understanding, like you do, of what truly will help the situation and what is just spinning our wheels. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
No, I think. But the bottom line is, Rand Paul really had it. In a medical analogy, Tony, neither party's plan that was voted on today and fell is really a root cause. It's basically Band-Aids on the problem. The problem is that we're not allowing people to determine what type of health care they want. Do they want broad coverage with first dollar coverage for which you pay a high premium? Do they want catastrophic coverage for which then you keep your own money? And by the way, Rand Paul's would allow every American to have their own pre-tax HSA. That's really that brings true portability to healthcare. Right now, and employers may not like this, but right now, employers get that advantage of a deduction when they pay a premium on your behalf. Why is it that when you leave your employer and start a food truck or drive an Uber or start your own candle making company or do your own podcast and you want to become a podcaster independently rather than work for a broadcaster, let's bring it home. Let's bring it personal. Then you could do that. You could own your own health care.
Doc, I know
the problem is,
go ahead.
Now you can't. And you know what? Employers would really like that too, because it is killing employers to be mandated to provide health care. Mm-hmm. And so I just think if we can return to a model that we had before the government got involved with Medicare and Medicaid, and then the government authorized HMOs and let insurance companies be consolidated, we need to return to a time like we do with our cars and our homes and everything else we insure, that, look, if your employer wants to do that, that's fine. But if you don't really want your employer to, and you'd rather be on your own and not take employer-sponsored coverage, maybe, as Rand Paul said, you could go through a buying co-op through Amazon or through your association health plan. If you're a plumber or if you're an electrician, and I don't mean through the union, I mean through independent plumbing company that don't have union guys, We just need to get back to freedom and independence and choice and liberty in what you want and how you're going to pay for it. And yes, everyone should get a deduction for pre-tax healthcare dollars that goes into an account that then can be used in whatever way they see fit.
And Doc, why is always and I mean, I think we all know the real answer here, but you'll be able to give, a more detailed, serious answer than I could. The debate is always over how are we going to get the money to pay the insurance companies and the drug makers for the extreme costs of healthcare. Why is should always be part of the conversation, but why is the conversation never about lowering the cost of the drugs and the insurance and the crazy overpriced price tag that are on it? It would be a lot easier to cover all of these things if insurance companies and drug makers weren't gouging Americans, every single day. But we never, we never talk about that. We'll look at colleges and say, look, you're overcharging too much, and that's part of the reason debt, and we got to do something about it. But we won't do it when it comes to the healthcare institution.
Well, look, let's go there. You think housing prices are too high, especially for young people?
Right now, yes.
Would you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You think tuition costs are too high?
Yes.
Okay. So what do those things have in common with healthcare? The government is paying the bill or dictating the bill, and the government has taken over controls. But they've also assured the vendors of those services, the colleges, not the real estate brokers and agents. It's not about them, but people selling homes. That's that market. That, hey, don't worry. And people buying homes, don't worry. There's loans for student loans. There's easy money for mortgages with FHA and VHA and Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac. And there's a backstop. That's what led to the housing crisis and the bubble bursting in 2007, 8, 9, right? There were guarantees for ludicrous zero interest down, low interest pay. Multiples of what people make and could afford were allowed in loans. Why? Because the lenders knew they had a backstop. So my point is, the reason prices are high, look, the insurance companies, the drug companies, they're not gouging Americans. They're taking advantage of a system that Americans have allowed to evolve. That is, when there's easy money coming from the government, there's guarantees of people having to spend $20,000 for a family of 4 for insurance. Well, the insurance is going to suck up all that money and more. If on the other hand, it was like, hey, Americans, we're just not going to be, the government's not going to be wink, wink, guaranteeing you that money's going to be easy and free and coming to you, insurance company and pharmaceutical company. And by the way, high dollar vendor of IVs and OR lights and scalpels and sutures. Guess what? It wouldn't take long for them to realize, whoa, hey, we got to lower our prices.
Yeah.
Because the money ain't easy anymore. This has become a vicious cycle. When the government guarantees that there's going to be payment for things, the people vending those things say, hoo-hoo, wow, let's rub our hands together. It's Katie by the door.
Yeah, I know.
That's what's going on, brother.
But can we ever really seriously address the healthcare issue without addressing that, without addressing I did a story earlier this week about, I don't know if you saw this, the ambulance situation in California. There was a debate. I can't remember all the details now. It was like on Monday. But a report came out from the federal government about the cost of ambulance rides in California and how it had gone up like 400% since 2021 and is projected to continue to go up. And it was in 2021, it was like $300 per trip on average for a California resident that had to take an ambulance ride. And it's now like $1,100 or $1,200, and it's projected to be nearly $2,000 in a couple of years. I mean, that is just, and that's, I mean, we're just talking about ambulance rides. We're talking about one little tiny piece of the puzzle. Until we address that madness, how do we ever fix anything?
Well, but there's an intrinsic problem there.
Yeah.
When people, this is all such an integrated web of corruption, of supply and demand at its very best. When the government says that you can walk into an emergency room and you don't want to, we have had this happen at a hospital I ran over and over. Someone on government insurance comes into the office with a sore throat and a cough, and they're sick. They got a sickness, they got an illness, but they're not blue, they're breathing, they're sick. They're the kind of thing you would go to your doctor. You would call me and say, hey, I got a problem. What do you think? Oh, you need to come in, or you don't, whatever. The copay for a Medicaid patient in this state is $3. It was at that time. I don't know what it is now. $3. People would come into the clinic and say, I have an appointment, but I don't have $3. Well, we're going to have to reschedule you. But no, I'll just go to the emergency room. Why? Because in the emergency room, it's on demand. The emergency room has to provide and should provide triage, evaluation, and stabilization of an emergency patient. Triage means we've had people that have come into the emergency room because they don't want to spend $10 for a pee on the stick pregnancy test on Dollar General.
Yeah.
Because they can. Now, and so you see the government rules that don't protect people in the emergency room who say, look, come on, really? That is a $50,000 fine if you tell that person in the wrong way to like, hey, we really aren't going to take care of that because if you think you might be pregnant because you missed a period, that's all. You're not having pain. No. Well, then when they go down the street to the hospital and the government rules say that the next hospital can report you for dumping patients, not taking care of patients. I can tell you story after story. The demand has gone up and up and up for healthcare, including ambulance rides.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the demand goes up and the supply is what the supply is, what happens to the prices?
Yeah.
They go up.
It seems overwhelming, Doc, that like literally everywhere, if you're looking around the medical industry and the healthcare, industry in this country, that every step you take, every time you look around, it's literally every piece of the puzzle is a disaster. And
because
go ahead.
It's a confluence of corruption, government crony capitalism, and yes, in some pockets there's a dose of greed. But let me give you another example. I had a patient come in just today. Patient needs to have, she's having heavy menstrual bleeding, and there's an outpatient procedure that can take good care of that about 80-90% of the time. And but you need to basically either you want to make sure you don't get pregnant on the back end of that procedure, because it's possible after you do this procedure that the patient could get pregnant because it sort of obliterates the lining of the uterus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's possible to get pregnant. Those pregnancies are complicated. They can end up with very, very tragically affected babies if they take it that far, or a miscarriage or a neck tie. A lot of problems.
Yeah.
So we always say, hey, look, you need to have your tubes tied or your husband's tubes tied. That's called a vasectomy, Tony. And, one way, and so, hey, guess what she told me? She said, well, my insurance says that she said, I've been to another doctor, and the doctor said that they would have to do the procedure, first of all, do the procedure to stop the heavy bleeding, and then bring me back to tie the tubes. I said, why is that? I mean, that should be done under the same anesthesia. Mm-hmm. There's no reason not to. Well, the insurance doesn't, it's an insurance matter. Wow. It's an insurance matter because the insurance doesn't pay. They'll pay for the second procedure, but they don't pay the regular price of the second procedure. They make you discount it. So you see, there is greed on the part of the insurance companies. There's righteous trying to maintain incomes on the part of doctors. I mean, doctors have got lower and lower and lower incomes. That's the reality.
Doctors have suffered as much as the American people have in this.
Yeah, doctors aren't suffering. I'm not getting out the violence.
What I'm saying doctors haven't benefited as much as the insurance companies, the drug makers, the government. You know what I mean? It's the patients and the doctors.
So here's the deal. In fact, they're going to cut specialist pay. The recommendation is this year to cut specialist pay by 2 or 3% and hold primary care pay the same, which is increasingly meaning that the doctor is losing money because their costs are going up and up and up. I know that. I run a practice, right? I just don't deal with insurance. So the thing is that but here's one pivotal thing that could bring the price down tomorrow for everyone. And I've been lobbying I need to get Nick on I'm going to lobby Nick publicly on my program.
Do
if
it.
I can get him on. He probably won't come on.
I'll
right?
shame
Because
him publicly to help you. Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to shame him. So look, I've been talking to legislators that are on healthcare committees and stuff. In Texas and Tennessee, I think we've talked about this before, maybe in Florida. I know in Texas and Tennessee, if you pay, a lot of people that have high deductibles know this very well. Let's say you have a $5,000 deductible. Here we are in December. You haven't met it. You've only met $500 of your deductible, and you need an X-ray test, or you need a bunch of expensive labs. Okay, that might cost, So then you go in, and if you submit them through insurance, it goes through the deductible, and the insurance negotiated price for you, because you're still paying, the meter's still running for Tony and still till he meets his deductible. The insurance negotiated rate on those labs may be $500, let's say, for sake of argument. I can get those labs. So can every independent direct primary care doctor. So can, anyone. I can get those labs on a negotiated price that I have with a hospital for a fraction of that, maybe a quarter of that, 20% of that. But yet, if the patient buys it on a cash basis or gets a CAT scan on a CAT basis because they don't use their insurance, that doesn't get applied to their deductible. Well, why is that?
Yeah.
In Texas and Tennessee, they can apply the cash payment toward deductible. That's essentially, think an HSA kind of talk here, right? Cash is king. Cash is and should be king. And that will bring down prices. But of course, people want to use their insurance. What if they get several tests that add up to $2,000 by cash, but doesn't yet meet their deductible, and then they need something that might, you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
That's one simple rule that could make a big difference.
And I think that's I'm so glad
to make that happen.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you point that out, because we've gone way long here, Doc, but I'd love to continue this conversation in the coming weeks, because it does seem so overwhelming and so we're so lost that how can we ever fix it? But you just identified one step. And I think that if we just, it's a long process, but it's been a long process to make such a mess that, if you identify areas, focus on them one step at a time to start cleaning this up, that's the way to go about it. And maybe educating folks on, like you just did, on ways to do that, then we can lobby our elected officials and we can have a plan or a message to do something about this, because I'm terrified for the healthcare industry, not for me. I mean, for me also, but my kids and my grandkids down the line. It's just unsustainable, the path that we are on.
The second step is to let everyone deduct their premiums and buy the kind of coverage they want.
Yes.
Not what the government defines, but what they need. We all do that. We either pay a lot of points down on our house and we pay less on the mortgage, or we pay fewer points and we pay a higher on the mortgage over time, but less on our monthly pay. So you can do this, right?
Yeah.
And we just need to give people more choice, more flexibility. The market will really work this out. And there is a safety net for people that have catastrophic conditions.
Right.
And that's
nobody's going to take that away.
That's called high risk pools. There's a way to do this. It's not that complicated. There's just not a will, because it's not politically palatable.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, and politicians don't like doing hard things. But but it's important, Doc, and that's why I really appreciate the insight and the conversation each and every week. Of course, tune in every Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to the Dr. Randy Tobler Show, and throughout the state of Missouri. Wake up, Missouri. Doc, great to talk with you as always, my friend. Talk to you again very soon.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. All right, before we end things off the Tim Jones and Chris Arbs Show, we are going to be joined by my co-host from the Bluff City Outdoors Show. Be with me live in studio next.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk.
Someone who turns your heart around, and next thing you know, you're closing down the town.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Jamie Ullman here with the great Eric Swanson of Newstedter's Fine Jewelers, Doherty Ferry, and Big Bend. Tell me about Wow Diamonds.
Wow Diamonds. We call them that because when people come in and look at the diamonds, everyone says, wow. We feature those in natural diamonds, the mine diamonds. They're perfectly cut, polished, and proportioned. Not all diamonds come out of the cutting process the same, and ours are perfect. That's why they're called Wow Diamonds.
Newstedter's Fine Jewelers right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend, wowdiamonds.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
CBS News announces a new anchor for the CBS Nightly News. It's not me, but the one they picked immediately gets blowback. It's a man, a white man. Again, not me. Now, of course, those 2 points can bring out opponents. Why is another white man going to anchor CBS News? Why not a person of color? Why not a woman? Why not an openly gay person? Why not a transgender? Well, if CBS thought it was playing it safe, there is something about this new anchor already creating cries of anger and protest. What's wrong? The man selected has been anchoring CBS Morning News is Tony DeCoffel, Jewish. There's a spark triggering condemnation. A former MSNBC host said, pro-Israel guy gets top job from new pro-Israel boss and new pro-Israel owner. Surprise! Jew haters will be watching, just looking for reasons to condemn Tony. But the CBS News editor-in-chief says, Tony believes in old-school journalism. I like that. Asking hard questions, following facts, holding people to account. I like all of that. That would be good, but will he? When it comes to news credibility, you can't just mouth it, you must practice it. One misstep and that credibility is gone. And once that happens, it's very hard, if ever, to restore.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
In all these years that Wellington Environmental has been my sponsor, I've never mentioned their duct cleaning services. Allergy season is here, and Wellington crews clean air ducts daily in homes and commercial buildings, also cleaning air handling units and diffusers in commercial facilities. Why? Well, because people will see black dirt and mold on the vents, or they are actually suffering from allergies. Don't be fooled by low-cost duct cleaning providers saying they charge only per vent, because once they get on site, the price will skyrocket. Wellington does not do this, never has. Wellington will give you an estimate, and you say Larry Connors, and immediately you get a 20% discount. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 314-644-4930. Make your home and business better, safer with Wellington. Be well with Wellington.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Dr. Randy Tobler for joining us in that last segment, the Randy Tobler Show, every Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on News Talk STL. And speaking of great Saturday morning programming here on the station, joining me now in studio is Mark McMurray, the owner of Bluff City Outdoors and my co-host of the Bluff City Outdoors show every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. here on News Talk STL. Great to see you, buddy.
Hey, it's good to be back, man.
And I don't know if you can see her on the cameras, but there also is a special guest lurking in the studio, Felicia McMurray. It is so great to see your lovely wife here today. I wish you would bring her more often. It's
Yeah, brighten up the place a little bit.
Yeah, it makes your presence a little more tolerable. Thank you for being here as always, my friend. And Mike Marfell, our other co-host from the Bluff City Outdoors show, will be on the show with us this weekend, but unable to join us in studio today. But as always, I got some, various things that I want to talk about. We say it every week. We don't get into politics or news on the Bluff City Outdoors show on purpose, because that show is for fun things like fishing and hunting and trapping.
The great outdoors.
The great outdoors, exactly. But being a business owner in Illinois and somebody who's very active and worked elections and things like that, it's always great to talk to Mark about some of the issues of the day as well. Before we get going, and what is the latest at the shop? As we've been through, we joked on the show last week. We had no spring this year. We apparently had no fall this year. We went from hot and then all of a sudden snow
cold
and freezing. Yeah.
Super cold this coming weekend.
But throughout all the weird weather, it's been a really great year for especially fishermen.
Yes, fishing's been outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, really the whole year.
So looking back at this year, like what are your biggest takeaways from the shop as far as do we continue to see growth in the outdoor community? Are people embracing this? And are they, is it a healthy and growing community as we wrap up the year?
So I'm going to say this year was kind of just like a flat line.
Yeah.
It's
Plateau a little bit.
Yes. I think we, coming down off the COVID highs, I think we're, a lot of places, a lot of shops are back down to their levels they were before COVID. We're thankfully still above that. So I don't think we're adding people. I don't think we're subtracting people. It's just kind of flat right now. Just so much uncertainty in the economy. I mean, I just noted, fishing tackle went up a lot. It really hadn't until this
Why
season.
is that? Is it tariffs? Is it supply chain? Why?
I think a lot of it's tariffs.
Yeah.
Tariffs. I think some of them were, building the worst case tariffs into their price structure, and not hopefully some of it a slide back. Once that's settled out a little more.
Is there a feeling of almost like a barrier of entry for somebody who, and Mark just mentioned the COVID highs, and if you don't know exactly what he's referencing there, we've talked about this a lot. If there was one silver lining of the pandemic situation when the government shut down the country, and people couldn't go to the movies and they couldn't go to the clubs, they couldn't go to the bars, a lot of people rediscovered or discovered their local fishing ponds, and they're you got
forced everybody back outside and into those activities.
And we saw a growth that hadn't been there in decades, a big spike of growth in people buying fishing licenses and getting out and hunting and things like that. And so there was this people embracing the great outdoors because there was nothing else to do at the time. And then a lot of that has held, but the growth hasn't continued.
Right. Yeah.
So when you talk about that, so being in that position where we are now, I know the biggest story in fishing this year was the forward-facing sonar, the new technology that is just, I was talking to somebody the other day, completely random conversation that I had, and this person was a fisherman. He's bringing up the forward-facing sonar and how just crazy it is, and he's trying to get it, used to it and things like that. But that's not cheap. And a lot of the new sort of fads are kind of premium items.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that in particular, that's a lot of dollars.
Is that intimidating to somebody who's I want to get into fishing a little bit, but I can't, but I don't want to, I don't have a massive investment that I can make in getting into this. I know that you don't have to make that investment, but do you think that sometimes people feel that intimidation?
I think some people do. And I think others kind of take the right approach that, hey, if I'm not going to be out there trying to fish for a living and fish tournaments competitively, and I just want to go have fun, I can still fish the old fashioned way. So there's a lot of people that just still have that mindset.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't
And that all still works.
And that all still works.
All still works very, very well. And that's one of the great things about Bluff City Outdoors is that, if you are an avid fisherman or hunter, bow hunter, or trapper, I don't even know where you go if you're a trapper besides Bluff City Outdoors, if you want products and, and help in that area. But the Mark and his team there, no matter what level you are at, they have the products, they have the services, they have the knowledge to help you get started and fill whatever needs you have. So make sure you visit Bluff City Outdoors, open 7 days a week there in Alton, about a mile east of Fast Eddie's on East Broadway.
A lot of great Christmas deals going on out there.
Oh,
Come out and see us. So
listen,
a lot
a guy
of 20,
like me,
yeah.
a couple of lures, a couple of crankbait, and that's a perfect stocking stuffer.
Yeah, tons of stuff coming in now as we prep for the show season.
So to talk a little politics, which we don't get to do on Saturdays, looking into 2026 and some of the craziness that could be heading our way. Jasmine Crockett thinks that she's going to be a senator in Texas. Your governor thinks he's got a shot at running for president. And the president election is not next year, but you know what I mean? That's all going to be heating up as we go forward. Are you dreading these conversations coming up, or are you like ready for the entertainment and drama that this is all going to bring us?
I'm going to use it as a sanity test for the nation.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
If Pritzker ends up being the leading guy, I mean, him and Newsom, they're both horrible.
Whatever happens in 2026 in the midterms, like this is going to be the year
going to launch it.
That sets that whatever the small group of people that are going to be in that conversation for the Democrats, that's going to all start in 2026. That path to who's going to be the leader. And right now, as we have that conversation, somehow I still don't know how this is possible, but somehow JB Pritzker's part of that conversation.
Yeah, that it blows my mind. A guy who would remove the toilets from a piece of property so that it could get away. Yes, to get away from paying the property taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, is that really who you want to be your leader?
When you say that it's a test for the country, I think you're so right about that, and I think that a big part of that's going to be New York. And when Mondani officially takes over in a few weeks, and watching what happens to New York, hopefully maybe is the beginning of a wake-up call for the country to say, like, here's the path you're on. Yeah, here's the final destination. If you're going to go, you're going to entertain this AOC, JB Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, agenda that we're on.
And, and then, Jasmine Crockett, I mean, I wish Trump didn't call her low. She's not.
No,
she went to one of the best schools here in the St. Louis area.
No, you're right.
She's smart.
Yes.
She's an actor.
Yes. And
actress.
And dangerous.
and yes, and I don't think they should take her lightly.
Yeah.
I mean,
I totally agree. Totally agree.
You can't risk it. I mean, she's crazy, but
I know. Well,
she's effective.
Yeah.
In her craziness.
Not going to win in Texas, though, I don't think.
Yeah, Texas would be
I think she's going to be the next show host on MSNBC at the end of the road. Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors. Again, all your fishing needs, all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, and more taken care of by Mark and his team there at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and BluffCityOutdoors.com, and tune in every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. for the Bluff City Outdoors show. We'll be back tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, keep it here for O'Reilly next, then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIglobal.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Kate Monroe.
I was in the Marine Corps. I don't think people really understand that the National Guard is essentially your neighbors. I mean, this would be like your house is on fire and all the great men and women on your